Good morning, everybody. My name is Ellisa Cooper, and this is Cooking in Quarantine. I hope everybody is well this morning, and I've got a few things laid out to make some really awesome food today at my house. So, first of all, I guess I've been a little peckish lately. I've eaten beans for the last few days, so I think that I really have that kind of empty feeling. Good morning, Sale. And I just need a really hearty meal. So I've been thinking about making like a scalloped potato kind of thing. I had this beautiful goat Gouda that I thought would be a really nice thing to kind of mix it up. So what I did was I got a couple of beautiful potatoes here. And instead of doing them like scalloped potatoes, I'm doing them Hasselback. So I'm going to take each one of these potatoes and I'm going to make a little cut down into it. And you'll notice here that I have it sitting between two cutting boards. And that's so that I don't cut all the way through the potato. If I wanted to cut all the way through the potato, I'd get out the mandolin, right? And then I have then these about, 1/4 inch slices here and do this to the potato, right? So I probably could have cut it through a little bit more, but I didn't want to make a mistake. So let me give a little bit more of a cut on this north side, or wait a minute, the south side. So here we have these potatoes now ready like this. Make sure don't have too many short slits in them, because I certainly want all the goodness that we're going to put in here to be able to slip down inside there. Let me see, how am I doing here? Here we go. Now I already did the other one and I think he's in pretty good shape, right? So I've done this. Now what I need to do is get my hands a little dirty and butter up my dish. Lucky for me, I always have a little butter sitting out here on the cupboard. And I'm just gonna butter this up. So I'm just using kind of a standard scalloped potato recipe, but I'm just monkeying with it a little bit. You know me, you know how I like to monkey with things. So here we go. I'm gonna give that a little spread there. It's a little there. And so this also called for caramelized onions. I had a couple of shallots that looked like they needed to be used. Hello, Tony. How are you? And so, pardon the loud noise. I'll be right with you, but buttery hands are no good for anybody. And, except, if you're watching Last Tango in Paris. So this morning I was out and about, ran a few errands because some shops have opened, and I was able to do things like get, cotton balls and things like that I buy at Bed Bath & Beyond because I'm a member. So I'm going to get a little olive oil in here and try to get that olive oil to get down in between these slices, right? As we open it up, because you want these slices to open as it cooks if you've never made a Hasselback before. So let a little oil get down in there. Oops, see, that's where I run the risk of making my cuts too big. And so then I got that. So this is coming along. Yet another handy, fatty mess. So I was out and about this morning. Here we are now, day 4 of stage 2, phase 2 in New York. And there are an alarming number of shops that could be open that are not open. And so I posed the question earlier today, do we think that that's because people don't have the PPE they need? People don't have the employees that they need? I'm just a little confused why, if you could be open, you wouldn't open. I do think that the fact that the rest of the country are acting like jackwagons and spiking, ruining the good time for everybody, right? So anyway, so this calls for, I've just taken my 2 little guys and I'm just going to kind of scatter this into the pan. The big, the scallop recipe suggested that these onions be the base underneath the bottom layer of the slices. So I'm just going to kind of put this here. So this will kind of scent and flavor all of this stuff. So what else are we supposed to put in here? Our Gruyere cheese. So we're going to use some of it now and some of it later. I think a little bit of it will go on to finish. So I'm going to let a lot of it go down in the middle so that it gets a cheesy, oniony kind of mess. I'm thinking that there could be some kind of a, an onion soup kind of scenario going on here a little later in the day. So there's a little cheese on here. And then it wants a little salt and pepper. So let's do that. That was for Kate. And lucky number. And just because I've got the door open, why don't I? I'm having a jam up here on my wheelie cart. I'm finding paprika, but where? I think I know. There it is, my cayenne. You know how I like to cayenne. So I'm going to put just a little bit of, the tiniest, lightest little layer of cayenne. And we're going to need that cayenne a little later for the next thing we're going to do. And then this wants me to put, I've already put a little butter. It wants a little bit of broth to go in here. And I'm going to put that. I've got this good super thick Trader Joe's broth. Oops, just make sure it gets, make sure you can see it. Is my thing. You want to make sure you can see it. There we go. So these are going to be super cheesy potatoes in a little bit. This calls for it to bake covered with aluminum at 400 degrees for 50 minutes or until tender. So I'm going to cover this baby, but because I don't want the cheese to be completely stuck to the top, I'm going to make a tiny little pleat across the top, which just kind of helps it to keep it high in the middle. At least I find it does. See how that kind of gives it a spine so that I can get this around here. And then give this a little tug. Here we go. And beautiful. Excellent. So that should be just about right. Next thing we're going to do today is, I have to tell you guys, sometimes I learn something and I feel so foolish and thinking, how did I not know this? I learned two things this week about the New York Strip. Does anyone know why it's called the New York Strip? Does anyone notice that this is Harlem and this is Wall Street? It's shaped like Manhattan. Did you also know that the first formal restaurant in New York, which was here at the Flatiron Building, if you read The Alienist by Caleb Carr, it features largely in it. The restaurant was Delmonico's. Delmonico's is downtown now, but there was a Delmonico's here right across from the Metropolitan Opera at 23rd and 5th. And a Delmonico steak sandwich is made from a New York strip. I feel so stupid that these are things that, after living in New York for 30 years, I still didn't manage to internalize. But I'll never forget that the rest of my life. How about you? So anyway, I have a little bit of onion in my tongue. And now, here's what I do. Because I don't have a grill, I have to cook my steaks on my flat iron. And I always put a light, nice, even dusting. I think about a flavor over all sides. And so I set this up. I have these little rimmed plates. And I will pepper just around here. Pepper, 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 pepper. And salt, 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 salt. Pardon me. And then, depending on what you're doing, you might want garlic powder or onion powder or cumin, depending on what your sides are. But then I will just take this steak, and when I'm about ready to go on, I'm going to roll it in this plate full of spice. You don't want to let it sit in the salt too long because that's going to start pulling the juice out of it, right? So you want to do that when it's at room temperature and when you're about ready to cook it. But that's a trick I always use. And so my favorite hearty meal, which we're making today, is a New York strip steak, just lightly seasoned, just barely past rare into medium rare with my nice cheesy potatoes. And no steak dinner, I don't think, is complete without a blue cheese dressing salad. So I found some really beautiful, what am I trying to say? Really beautiful butter lettuce. And I thought a little butter lettuce tossed with a little blue cheese dressing would be good. So I've already got my mayo, my sour cream, and my blue cheese in here. And a couple of weeks ago, I made Jamie's blue cheese dressing because, you know, I claim that anything that my friend Jamie makes is better than anything you've ever made. And we agreed that that dressing was a little sweeter than we actually like it. So I'm going back to my blue cheese dressing. So first of all, my blue cheese dressing, and I'm going to do this a little. I opened up a bottle of habanero pepper sauce that my dear friends the Laurelards brought me from St. Martin earlier this spring. And I've been eating it on lots of things. And so that's going to be my little doss of hot sauce in here. And then a little bit of Worcestershire. Because what's better than umami? And a tiny bit of, ooh, things are falling in here, apple cider vinegar. Just for a little tart. And by the way, day before yesterday, whenever I was here last, and I made pinto beans, cornbread, and turnip greens. My turnip greens were off the chart delicious, if I may brag, but it's not really I can't really brag because I made them for the first time. I used somebody else's. Well, that's not true. I'd made turnip greens and collard greens and mustard greens a lot, but I kind of did it a little differently, and they were really, really good. Very much your great granny's. Very smoky from the pork knuckle, but really fantastic, incredibly flavorful. The pinto beans, I have to say, were so good that I'm going to make them again, and I'm going to make them from soaked beans so that I have to cook them down and let all of that flavor packet that I put in there, which was paprika and cumin and that kind of thing, so that you get that super soupy bean thing, which I didn't have as much of because I didn't want to overcook my already cooked beans, right? But that's going to be done here at my house in the not too distant future for sure. So let's see how this salad dressing's tasting. And let's see. Very good. A different kind of hot. A little salt and a little pepper. And that's good, but maybe just a little bit more Worcestershire. I love Worcestershire sauce. When I'm really, really hungry and can't eat right away, I will literally take a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, and the umami settles my brain and makes me think that I've just experienced a lot of food, because how else could all of that come out in my head? And it fools me for about 15 or 20 minutes until I can actually get food in myself. That's my silly, silly little trick. Now we're talking. Oh yeah, boys and girls, that when it gets cold again is going to be absolutely gorgeous. So what else is needed here? There's only one other thing that's needed, to my way of saying. You might, now since I'm doing a salad, you might not feel like you need a green. If you wanted to do like some haricot vert, would be absolutely brilliant with this as well. The only thing that's really missing from it is a really good glass of wine, right? So I am not a huge fan of New World, especially New World reds painted with a wide swath, because they're so high in alcohol. But this is a great opportunity to drink a New World red that's 14.5%, 15% alcohol, because you've got so much fat here and so much flavor that you're not going to be knee walking drunk after it, and be a really great thing. But you could also do something a little more delicate, like a Southern Rhone, I just wouldn't try to go Pinot Noir with this meal for sure, because I think that would be too gentle. That said, since I went out and was able to do a little shopping this morning, I found something and I had to. It's so foolish, but I had to. I found cocktail napkins that say, "Hello Bubbles, goodbye troubles." So I figured it would be just somehow wrong for me to walk away from these. And they had a $20 off coupon anyway, so it's almost like they were free. So there's that, guys. Let's see who's here today, since I'm so blind. Good. Hello, Gail Gerlach. How are you? I haven't seen you in literally a month of Mondays. How about a decade of Mondays? So let's see who else is here. And hello, Rosemary and Janet and Carolyn and Lee. Hello. And Barbara and Nathaniel and Julie and Mike and Denise and Kathy. Wow, it's a full house today. So we're having a beautiful day here in New York. It's really strange, like I said, it's strange about all of the shops that haven't opened, but I think the other thing is that there's still no people here. I was out from 10 o'clock until 11:30, and there was never a going to work surge. It never, I said to myself as I was walking in, oh my gosh, it's like every day is like Sunday. There's hardly anybody on the streets until noon. And so it's still strange here in New York. And I've been saying this all along, but the best way to show that you care for your fellow man is to not be a scofflaw, not be selfish, put on your mask, be respectful. Yes, you may think it's foolish, but so what? Suck it up. You've done other things that are foolish. You know, back in the 60s when we were taught in the 60s and 70s when we were taught to be afraid of the hippies and the young people, the college students protesting, we suddenly said no shirts, no shoes, no service. So how is it any different? No mask, no service. So as long as you're covering up your feet and your chest, feel free to cover up your nose and your mouth. And if that's a problem for you, stay home. Guys, you see that the surge is going on and on and on. Do your part. Don't be the person who has to look back when we are a steaming heap of rubble 5 years from now with 1 million people dead and be like, oh, wow, I guess I could have done better. No, do better now. That's all I ask. So I'm probably going to get shut down here today because I started out with Bach on and somehow it's gone to Willie Nelson. So not that I mind one tiny bit. So guys, I hope you guys are all doing the right thing, going out into the world every day with a heart full of love for your fellow man, regardless of how horrible and mouthy they are in the streets. I had a man go crazy right in front of me in Bed Bath & Beyond today. So you never know. Take a deep breath, smile on your face, even behind your mask, because it can be seen in your eyes. I love you all. See you tomorrow. Ciao.